It had been a month or so since the whole Beerus fiasco, and things had changed quite a bit. Vegeta was often training with Beerus, and Bulma was always so busy running Capsule Corp. On the few days that they did all hang out together as a family, Gotenks showed just how different he was from the rest of them. Whilst he had the same appetite as Vegeta and the elegance of Bulma when eating, he also washed his own dishes and cleaned up after himself. Bulma and Vegeta were dumbfounded, as Trunks usually simply ate and ran off to play. But then again, Gotenks did live alone for a few months. Perhaps Bulma's son had really matured, though this really wasn't her son, was it? Gotenks had mannerisms from both his components, taking the gentle and kind nature from Goten, whilst having the stubbornness and pride of Trunks. All this to say, even with Bulma and Vegeta, the fusion felt as if he didn't belong, though Capsule Corp was the home most suitable to him and his dominant personality. Though feeling left out led the fusion to spend the bulk of his time training within the Gravity Chamber 3.0. He focused on maintaining Super Saiyan 3 and utilizing his sword better. By this time he could use a sword as well as anyone else, but he felt something different about it. He could feel the ki of Hirudegarn within, making the sword feel alive. Sure, it was made of metal, but occasionally it felt as if it bent when slicing through the training pots, as if, for an instant, it had a mind of its own. The fusion focused on honing this ability whilst working harder to create more destructive moves with his growing power. During this time, Gohan often found himself sparring with Gotenks, something he didn't mind as much these days as he had acclimated to this new work-life balance. However, he did notice all this training had affected his little brother in their latest fight. Gotenks had bags under his eyes, had trouble concentrating, and most notably, couldn't go past Super Saiyan 1. However, like the last time they sparred, whenever Gohan tried to calm him down, the boy only became more frantic. Gotenks was trying desperately to beat Gohan, pushing himself to dangerous limits, something that reminded the Elder Saiyan of himself in the hyperbolic time chamber. Gohan took a page from Piccolo's book, powering up into Ultimate and striking Gotenks hard in the stomach, ending the fight in one hit. "I think we should call it a day. You look like you could use a nap." Gohan tried to help Gotenks up, but the boy rejected the offer. "Psh, I can keep going. I'm so close to Dad's level, I know it. Let's keep..." Just as Gotenks stood up, the gravity within the chamber took its toll on his legs, them turning to jelly and forcing him prone. Gohan turned the gravity off and picked his brother up. He must have really been pushing himself hard, since he had already fallen asleep. The hybrid understood what that was like, and maybe Gotenks was right. With Broly and Beerus out there, who knows what could happen? Just as Gohan began to overthink himself, he remembered the lesson Gohan taught him during that oh-so-terrible year. That was it. With hard work should come even harder play, and Gohan knew something that might just work. Once he took Gotenks inside and laid him down, he asked Bulma to call up an old friend. Once the fusion awoke, he immediately began sensing the ki around himself. He felt Gohan, Bulma, Krillin, Tien, Yamcha? What? Why was everyone gathered up? Broly and Paragus were still on the other side of the Earth, so that wasn't it. Maybe it was one of those androids Gohan talked about? The ones who can't be sensed? Yeah, it had to be something like that. Gotenks immediately grabbed his sword and flew outside, only to see everyone setting up a baseball field? Gohan waved his brother down, and then explained that for their next training session, they'd be playing baseball. "Baseball? How's that going to help us beat Broly? I can't waste my time playing silly games, Gohan." Gotenks began to walk away, but that's when Gohan pulled out his trump card. That's okay. I knew you couldn't beat me anyways.
What? Hey, I'll take you on anytime, anywhere, and in any stupid game you set it up. Bring it on. Kasha!
Gotenks tried to flex on Gohan, but the bookworm was too busy going over the rules with Yamcha, although everyone was pretty happy his plan seemed to work. Once Piccolo and 18 got there, the teams were put together. It'd be Gotenks, Piccolo, and Tien versus Gohan, Krillin, and 18. Everyone was given the basic rundown of how baseball worked, with Yamcha being their referee. Gotenks' team was the first to bat, with Gohan acting as the pitcher, the two staring each other down as if this was the most important match of the century. Once the ball was thrown, Gotenks swapped the bat for his trusty sword, imbuing it with his ki before swinging with the flat end, smacking the ball high into orbit, or at least intending to. Gohan flashed into Ultimate, flying high into the air and catching the ball with little effort.
Out. Sorry, little buddy. Gohan caught it fair and square.
Yamcha tried to usher Gotenks away, but then he noticed just how livid the boy was.
Hey, no fair. I didn't know we could transform.
Yeah, I didn't know we could use swords either. This makes Gotenks shut up, him grumbling whilst walking off to the bench.
He'll show Gohan. He'll show them all.
Anyways, Piccolo steps up to bat next, holding his bat a little too tight. I guess you could say he was firmly grasping it. Anyways, once Gohan pitches to him, Piccolo pulls out an absolutely insane new strategy. He simply bunts the ball. Everyone was expecting Piccolo to hit it low, so Gohan couldn't catch it, but this defies expectation. And whilst Gohan scrambles to grab the ball, Piccolo makes it to first base. Next up is Tien, and well, he does hit the ball thanks to his third eye, though he's tagged before getting to first base. But his sacrifice wasn't in vain, as Piccolo makes it to second base, something Gohan wasn't expected, but hey, this is the guy who taught him everything he knows, so it made sense. Finally, Gotenks is up to bat once more, and this time, he's prepared. Gohan immediately powers up into Ultimate, whilst Gotenks goes Super Saiyan 3 and imbues his sword with dark purple ki. Gohan puts the ball in both his hands, charging up a small Kamehameha and launching it at Gotenks, who swings his sword as hard as he can to meet the beam. The two get into a rather tough beam struggle, with Gotenks actually sweating a little whilst Gohan puts every ounce of his power into the blast, trying to overpower his younger brother. The ball is barely budging, the pressure causing Gotenks' hands to ache, though the fusion isn't about to give up that easily. He creates several kamikaze ghosts, one of which becomes a sword whilst the other two swing and help Gotenks push the ball back. Once it begins moving, Gotenks pulls back and launches a huge Gallic gun that shoots the ball far off into space. Yamcha is left just dumbfounded, but neither Piccolo nor Gotenks let this go to waste, as they both run across the field. Gohan watches his brother run as fast as he can, yet he's smiling, even laughing a little. Good. His plan was a complete success. The rest of the game goes as you'd expect, with Gotenks eventually winning, though not by much, since 18 was a surprisingly fearsome opponent in baseball. Once everyone goes home, 18 reminds Gohan that he needs to write a check to her, but does admit she had some fun, and it seems that Gotenks is in better spirits. Indeed, everyone did have fun, which was something they'd need soon. However, first, the two brothers were left alone at Capsule Corp, laying on the lawn and stargazing. Gotenks thanks his brother, now realizing the whole point of that game. Don't mention it. Dad did the same with me during the Cell games. I'm happy he taught me how to relax, though I think his lesson was a little too effective. Gohan rubbed the back of his head, remembering what happened in the Buu saga.
Yeah, that's why you got me here to keep you in line. Speaking about Goku, or Dad, what was he like?
Dad? Oh man, he was the coolest father you could ask for. He could be strict like Mr. Piccolo when danger was around, but he always made sure I was okay, and always tried to be there whenever you needed him. Gohan was so caught up in his memories that he didn't notice Gotenks' solemn expression until just then, at which point an awkward silence befell the two.
Why isn't he here now, Gohan?
A single tear fell down Gotenks' face, though he quickly covered it up. I don't know. I guess he thinks we don't need him. The two spent the next few minutes simply watching the stars, though neither of them fully believed that last statement. Gotenks remembered Goku, though he never met him personally, his components had. It was strange, missing someone you didn't know, but he did. In fact, he missed not only Goku, but Vegeta, wishing they had both spent more time with him, but feeling as if it were too late to have that fatherly bond now. Well, for now, he would just have to do what he had always done. Now, the next few months go pretty well, with the fusion going easy on the training, even if his paranoid brain says he should train 24/7. Thankfully, Gotenks is able to get some advice from Piccolo, who teaches the fusion how to ease his mind with meditation. During this time, the forces of evil continued to move though, and not only Frieza, but King Cold are arrived, thanks to some help from a certain Saiyan. The two agree to train, though do so separately since Cold is aware of his son's intent to double-cross him. There isn't much difference in how this arc starts, since while Goku is gone, Gohan would be just as good, if not better, in terms of revenge. Once Frieza arrives on Earth, the 1,000 soldier battle starts and ends within seconds, due to their insane power. Of course, they can sense Frieza's immense power, and ask Bulma to summon Vegeta to Earth, just in case. Gotenks unsheaths his sword and asks to take on Frieza first, though Gohan denies this, saying he'd like to take on the first round. Frieza chimes in, saying he'd like to fight Gohan as well, and so is decided. Frieza tries fighting Gohan in his first form, but the hybrid absolutely decimates the space lizard, forcing him into his final form. This time, the two are on even ground, with Frieza only slightly overpowering the Saiyan. Luckily, Gohan's ultimate power, accompanied with his trash talk, are enough to slightly unnerve the Emperor. Gohan uses psychological warfare to scare Frieza, him acting as if his ultimate form is just his base, mocking Frieza for being so weak that he didn't even need to use Super Saiyan. Gotenks tries to tell Gohan to cut it out since they can sense Frieza has something up his sleeves, but Gohan is having too much fun. He's excited to have a real fight for once, and watching Frieza lose his cool only made the Saiyan even cockier. However, once his opponent's golden form is showcased, things quickly become dire. Frieza begins beating the hybrid Saiyan down, throwing him around the battlefield using his telekinesis. Gohan does his best to keep up, but Frieza's power is on a whole nother level, leaving him with no choice but to call on his younger brother. Gohan is thrown into the earth once more when Frieza notices a child flying straight at him. Gotenks had powered up into Super Saiyan 3, swinging his phantom sword straight for the Emperor's neck. Frieza casually sticks his arm up to block, but just as the blade makes contact, it turns into smoke, before reforming right in front of his face. Not expecting such an ability, the Emperor's eye is sliced clean through. Frieza kicks Gotenks away, grabbing at his face and screaming out in pain. Gotenks is thankful his new ability worked, even if Frieza's kick hurt more than he'd like to admit. The fusion rubs the hilt of his sword, thankful for the demon that resided within, as now he knew just how much power Frieza actually had. Sure, it was potent, but he was going through it faster than the hybrid Saiyans. they actually had a small chance of winning this. He began conjuring several hundred kamikaze ghosts before making one final ghost, pouring so much ki into it that he actually deformed out of Super Saiyan 3. With that, Gotenks led the charge with his ghosts, all equipped with phantom swords of their own that rained down on the injured Emperor. Frieza was having none of it though, piercing several ghosts with death beams, though he seemed to notice one of them moving around, almost like it was dodging his blasts intentionally. A few of the ghosts made it to Frieza, exploding but ultimately doing little damage, before Gotenks made it and swung down at the Emperor once more. The tyrant had learned his lesson though, and grabbed the fusion by his forearms, smirking at him. However, Gotenks nodded towards something behind Frieza, prompting the Emperor to look and see that same kamikaze ghost, now burning red and about to explode. Gotenks used his sword as a makeshift shield as the ghost exploded, unleashing a torrent of flames hungrily lapping at anything within range, including Frieza and the Phantom Sword. This was Gotenks' newest move. He called it Fiend Fire, made specifically to burn those with evil intent. Frieza screamed out once more as Gotenks retreated, flying down towards Gohan to check if he was okay. The two regrouped, hoping they had bought enough time for Vegeta to arrive. And what do you know? Right as Frieza puts out the fire, Vegeta arrives on the scene, eager to fight his foe. But that's when they hear an old man yell Broly's name. Gotenks looks over to see Paragus and Broly standing atop a ledge. He was stunned, completely overthinking the situation, and far too stunned to move when a red beam flew right at him. Gohan suddenly jumped in front of his younger brother, trying to deflect the blast, though it was too powerful and badly burned his hand. This helps get Gotenks out of his own head, but when Frieza charges the two, there's nothing they can do to oppose him, eventually ending up blackened and blue, whilst the Emperor gloats and chooses to watch Broly and Vegeta fight. Gotenks' spirit is completely crushed as he can feel Broly growing in power and can tell Vegeta can't keep up with him. All seems lost, but that's when Gohan stands up and begins making his way towards Frieza.
Gohan, what are you? Vegeta needs us right now. Everyone entrusts us to defeat Frieza, so that's what I'll do. But we can't. He's too powerful. What if you...
But Gotenks was shut up when Gohan looked back and gave him a thumbs up. Hey, I trust you with my life. Please, trust me too. With that, Gohan flew towards Frieza, who was trying to aim a finger towards Vegeta, but right before he fired it off, Gohan uppercutted the Emperor, then grabbing his tail and slamming him right into the earth. But Frieza quickly recovers and blasts Gohan away, sending him into a nearby rock formation whilst charging up a death ball. The power needed to form such a blast causes the Emperor to fall out of gold, but he isn't too concerned, as this blast should be enough to destroy the Earth, getting rid of all his problems in one go. Frieza then flings a blast down towards Gohan. Just then though, Gotenks flew right into the Emperor's side, his head cracking several ribs and sending him flying into the ocean. The fusion was in Super Saiyan 2, the only form he could handle, him teleporting in front of Gohan right as the death ball began to touch down, though it only decimated a few inches of rock as Gotenks put his all into stopping the blast. Luckily, it wasn't too powerful, but at this point, neither was the fusion, who could barely stop the blast, let alone push it away. This potent ki, it burnt the fusion's hands, and no matter how much he tried, it just wouldn't budge. But that's when Gohan stood up, putting a hand on the blast and helping to push it away as well.
Sorry, I just needed a second to rest,
Gohan said, trying to comfort his younger brother, despite the wobble in his legs and the giant burn mark on his chest.
I could push this off myself, Gohan. But still, thanks for the help.
Don't mention it. You ready, though? Gotenks looked to his older brother, nodding as they both pushed back, causing the blast to dissipate, revealing Frieza with a pretty worried look on his face. Gohan couldn't transform at all, and Gotenks had powered down into Super Saiyan, since 2 was a little too taxing right now. They could tell this battle would be finished soon, but the brothers knew they'd come out on top. After all, they had each other, and Frieza had no one. But that is where we're going to leave things off for right now. If you enjoyed this part, I'd appreciate it if you slashed that like button, or maybe even caught that evil subscribe button on fire. But even if you don't, thank you guys for getting to this part of the video. I apologize for not getting this out on Saturday as I normally do, but my schedule was just filled with some very long shifts. Speaking of long things though, I should probably get to editing this. You guys have a good day or night wherever you are. That's it for now. Bye bye.